Why would you not tell me about the alliance? I'm in it.
I didn't think I was the appropriate one to approach you about it.
But I don't understand how it's bad. I don't get it.
What is going on, guys? My name is Brandon Donlin.
Hi, my name is Wendell Holland.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wentworth, and you're watching Survivor Squared.
Survivor Squared.
Survivor Squared.
Survivor Squared.
Today's podcast is tomorrow's watch along, and today's watch along is tomorrow's podcast. Welcome to Survivor Squared. My name is Tony Squares. As always, I am joined by Bailey Buffs, my ride or die. Coach's magnum opus has hit us, Bailey, in season 50, and today we are talking all about episode 2. So spoilers ahead. Joe Hunter has become the hunted. The winner of season 49 has been taken out and cast aside. And we've had not one, but two Billie Eilish boomerang idols. Bailey, we are 2 episodes into season 50. How you feeling?
We are 2 episodes in. I will say, nothing was going to be able to keep the high of the first episode, if I'm being totally honest. I think everyone was riding such a high from that episode 1, that 3-hour premiere that was just filled with so much nostalgia, so much excitement, so much action, so much happening. So yeah, it did feel like a little less of an exciting episode, but there still was so much to happen. There was still so much going down, and obviously, still just as involved and into it as I will ever be.
I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions after episode 2, one of them being just for the formatting of it all. With a 26-day competition. We are now entering episode 3. We'll be entering day 7, and we still have 21 people on the island. I am confused at how we get down in the numbers to where we're supposed to go, but a lot did happen this episode, even though we only had one person get voted out, and most of it happened on one tribe. And we'll be breaking down Joe versus Rick Devens, Christian doing awful things to himself, Cirie and Ozzy, and of course, Savannah. But we have so many things to touch on with such a big cast. Let's start off, Bailey. The guy we had winning the premiere. And it's Coach himself with Jonathan and Dee and everything going on there. Not a lot of time spent with this tribe on this episode. But again, the star of the show is Coach. Right from the get-go, when we have the reward challenge, everyone's standing there and Coach stops everything to make sure that everyone knows what went on between him, Ozzy, and Q during the reward, the get your materials challenge. Bailey, this was another, I can't stop saying it, this was another all-time Coach moment. The man hasn't changed.
No, he hasn't changed at all. I just think it's so funny to come on and make this whole ordeal about what a changed man I am, and I'm going to learn from all my lessons, and I'm going to be the bigger person and all this stuff. And then immediately, he can't get over this tiny little potential misconception of him, or this, misunderstanding of maybe what happened. And now he's like, no, I have to have justice. I need to, everyone needs to hear my story. I need to have my revenge. It's like, dude, nothing happened. This was such a non-thing to make it a whole thing again at a second opportunity, at a place that really is not about you. Everyone is past it except for Coach.
Literally everyone.
That just sums up Coach perfectly. Everyone's moved past it except for Coach, and he still is just so honed on to this weird moment.
It is beautiful. And the fact that it's against Ozzy, and Ozzy's sitting there just keeps on prodding him and poking him. And I thought Ozzy has played a fantastic game so far in the fact that Ozzy is just, he is getting a little bit more open, and that he has some weaknesses in this game, so he's trying some new things. And part of it is he's poking at the belly of Coach, and Coach is just taking all the hits as these barbs and keeps on going. It's wonderful, but we don't get a lot from this tribe in this hour and a half other than Coach and Jonathan going out swimming, and poor Coach cramps up because he's 50-some-odd years old and can't swim with Jonathan. Shocker. And then we get a little bit of Chrissy as being the mom in the tribe, and that's starting to annoy some people.
Even if I like Chrissy, other people on the tribe are getting a little miffed.
But it did dawn on me when we were watching the little bit of this tribe, and I do want to have this sort of be a bigger speaking point here, Bailey. I did some of the math. We have a 24-person cast, and even with Jenna and Kyle and Savannah now being gone, in 4.5 episodes of television, there are 6 players who have less than 3 confessionals to camera. In fact, on this very episode, 4 players, Angelina, Chrissy, Tiffany, and Camilla, had 0. on this episode, direct to camera confessionals. Listen, not everybody can get camera time on all of it, but there have been a handful of players that just have not been in this edit at all. I forgot Tiffany was even on the island. I don't think I've heard her voice more than once in these 2 episodes, but Angelina and Chrissy seem to be the older players, the old era players that are not being really talked about at all. And then Charlie, D, Tiffany, and Camilla are definitely the ones that are kind of being left out from the newer era tribes. All of them seem to be on this coach tribe, and I wonder if we're just getting a kind of different type of edit, because when I watch all these Survivor seasons, as I've been watching them week by week, I am now in the thick of the new era. I'm watching 48 for the first, again, on a rewatch now, and I noticed that the dominant tribe early does not get a lot of television time. And it kind of leads to that whole season, unless there's a winner on that tribe, you don't get to meet the Mitches and the Chrissies of the world, or unless the Charities, or whatever her name was, of the world. You don't get to meet those players because there's nothing going on in that camp. They don't have to go to tribal council. Unless someone goes on a journey, they don't really have to do any strategizing. It's more, we're having fun, we're building a shelter, we're building a fire, things are going great. And Survivor rarely tells those stories early, and then it hurts those characters later from us, the TV people, because we fall in love with the Marys, with the Cedrics and the Says. We're rooting for those people now instead. So this season 50 of Survivor, obviously we're going to have tribes that win and tribes that lose. It seems to me that Jonathan and Coach's tribe might be the tribe that wins a bunch of stuff early, and we don't get to really talk to these people or figure out what's going on at all. Have you kind of felt a disconnect with some of the Survivor 50 players here?
Yeah, yes, for sure. I mean, I even wrote that down specifically about Tiffany and Charlie. I had wrote in my notes, like, we're not getting to hear from them at all. I thought we had a nice moment with Camilla, just getting to see her reaction of the news that Kyle was being sent home. That was a real genuine moment, but that was truly the only moment we got from her. And I wrote that down, but I will say something that I thought was interesting, just going by confessionals and going by amount that people have in confessionals. Something we saw a breakdown from last week's episode, someone that had the most confessionals was Savannah. And now she's gone. So I think that there is something that has to do with that editing. Yes, it is a disservice to some of those tribe mates, like some of those team members that are not getting showcased. Yes, it's going to affect them towards the end from an audience standpoint, but I don't think it's really going to affect them actually from a tribe standpoint or a teammate standpoint, because their fellow tribe mates are not seeing the same things we are, or lack thereof of seeing things that we are. And I do think so much of it has to go into, it's the editors and the producers. So it's like they wanted to give us a bunch of Savannah because Savannah does great on television and people love her from winning last season, but they knew she was going to be out. So they're trying to showcase her as much as possible. I think if we follow that kind of mindset, then that may be not so good for Coach's game. Who knows? But we saw a lot of Savannah, and then Savannah went home. We've seen a lot of Coach. Like, maybe this is editors, like you almost said last episode, throwing us a red herring almost. Maybe they're showcasing him so much because they want to give us as much good television while he's still there, and then he leaves and we're not going to see him anymore, and then maybe those other players will get showcased. I don't know. I mean, it's all such a game. It's all such a, like, I when people ask, like, is Survivor real or do people manipulate it? I don't think people manipulate the actual game. I think the only manipulation comes with the editing, and it comes with what they want us to see and what storylines they want us to see.
No, I agree with you. And if we're being honest, we texted each other during the episode. This was an oddly edited episode, but it doesn't have to do with Coach's tribe, and it doesn't have to do with the next tribe we're going to talk about. That is Colby's tribe with Rizzo and Q. Angelina on the outs, apparently a statue, as Q calls her, calls Lizzo extremely lazy, doesn't do anything around camp.
When I say lazy, that girl lazy. She like a statue.
And the best part about this this version of this tribe for this second episode is Aubry knows at least she feels she is on the bottom, and she's the one that gets a boomerang idol that brings her to tears. But at the same time, Colby, Stephanie, Q, Rizzo, and Genevieve all pull a beautiful, beautiful multi-level move to go through Aubry's bag and see if she has an advantage. Bailey, I have to ask you, I understand it's allowed in the game, but is going through someone's bag, is that a yay or nay move on Survivor?
You know, I think if the opportunity presents itself and you really have a hunch and you can somehow pull it off, yeah, go for it. I mean, clearly it was very anticlimactic, as we saw. Like, it was so funny. We have Q that's going to be the standout. We have Stephanie that's going to be the distractor. We have Genevieve that's going to memorize the order of the things in her bag. And for all of this to be so well thought out and skillfully planned, for it to end with, and we found nothing. And then it just cuts to the next thing.
Yes, and they went searching. They didn't find anything because Aubry gets her advantage later. She was definitely seemingly on the bottom of this tribe as Q looped Rizzo into his whole, I don't have a vote either, you're now part of this alliance. Aubry was left out of everything with this original tribe. So if you've seen the Next Week on Survivor clip so far, you know that these tribes are getting mixed up and moved around. So maybe Aubry gets new life in episode 3. But thank goodness her team didn't lose this challenge, or we might have been saying goodbye to Aubry a little bit earlier than we want to. On top of that, let's get to this challenge, because then we got to get to the tribe that lost the challenge and everything that went on and the drama in that tribe. It's not a challenge that's been unknown to us. We've seen this challenge before. I really enjoyed this challenge, Bailey. I love the fact that there's a physical aspect to it. You have to break down who's on what team, what are the duos that go out there, and then it is a really difficult puzzle at the end with all 3 of them holding a rope. And I really enjoyed this challenge. I'm happy it wasn't a put something together puzzle at the finish to end it. But what did you think about this challenge, and who stood out to you that really impressed you?
Okay, well, I will say the one thing that threw me off, and maybe this is just an accolade to the teammates, Jeff screamed out that these snakes were 200 pounds. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Did you hear that? Because he goes,
yes,
they're 200 pounds. I had a hard time believing 200, and maybe I ain't up in the gym working on my fitness. Maybe I don't know what a 200-pound thing feels like, but it was just like, I mean, to see some of these men be so dominating, to see Colby and Jonathan and Joe just manhandle those snakes with barely, with Emily Flippin holding the tail of it, like I was so impressed by those guys. And I mean, I also thought it was very telling to just the difference in certain people. Like even Emily Flippin running her booty off. And then freaking Angelina, is just standing there. She could not give 2 shits. Like she's not trying at all. Rizzo's still cracking jokes. Like there's just... Cirie was getting sassy during some of the challenges there. I mean, it was very interesting. And I also thought we really saw a lot of tension between Colby and Rizzo arise again, too. There was a lot of tension there in that challenge, which I think we will see come into play a little bit later. Yes, maybe they had this kumbaya moment in episode 1, but I don't know if Rizzo is going to stay in everyone's good graces after he keeps performing like this in the challenges. Yes, I do think it's an incredible challenge. I also thought it was very interesting to see Christian kind of flub it up at the end there just a little bit when he's normally so good with those puzzles. He got really overwhelmed. He got very frazzled, and Ozzy got frustrated. I mean, we saw a lot of these emotions kind of come out of these people so early. We're on day 5, 6, whatever it is right now. So it was very interesting, and I honestly was shocked, especially after the reward challenge, that Vatu wins again. They won it again. I mean, the tribe that we thought was really going to suffer in these challenges has just exceeded in them. I mean, it's been pretty shocking. I wasn't expecting it at all.
No, neither was I. I wasn't expecting Mike White to be a war horse in these immunity challenges. He's been fantastic, making it across balance, beating Joe Hunter in a reward challenge. He's been fantastic, and that kind of threw a wrench in my plan of how this was all going to work out. But instead, Joe, Christian, Cirie, Ozzy, Savannah, Rick Devens, and Emily Flippin, they all lose. And for the second time in a row, they are the ones forced to go to tribal council and vote someone out. And for the second time in a row, we are thrust into that camp for the majority of an episode. So let's break down everything that went on with the stars of the show here. And it starts off with Christian Hubicki having a national emergency on television, on cable television. And it was arguably, Bailey, one of the funniest moments in Survivor history.
You're not going to want to see this. I promise you do not want to see this.
It couldn't have happened to a better person to handle it the way that he did. I thought he was so effing hilarious. And the fact that he's sitting there, and you can tell during his confessionals, he's making all the puns and the jokes. He's like, how do I tell this story in my way? And then after he's done, he just sits there, and the moment of realization hits him going, my wife is going to divorce me.
I'm dead. My wife is going to divorce me.
That was my favorite
great.
part, Tony. That was my favorite part. I wrote it down too. I just wrote, oh, he shot himself. Like a bunch of, because I'm like, what? Christian had such a weird moment is how I started that. Because I was like, what's happening? Oh. And then just in the quote, my wife is going to divorce me. It was, you're right. I didn't even think about the fact that, like, had that happened to anyone else, that would not have been entertaining. That would not have been funny. It would have been uncomfortable and weird and awkward. And it still was all those things. Don't get me wrong. It was still really weird and uncomfortable and awkward. But at least it was Christian. But I mean, have we ever seen that?
I don't
49
know.
other seasons? I don't know if we want to go into it. I hope there's someone that has heavily researched that. But like, I genuinely don't know if we've ever seen that before. And so that was just like, oh God, well, only in 50.
Only in 50. I thought it was a truly magically hilarious moment. And again, I think, I'll put it this way, Bales. If that had happened to you on Survivor, do you just quit right then and there? Because I think I quit. I think I go home. I think I'm like, you know what? That's it, guys. I'm not even don't even get this on camera. Call it a medivac. I need to leave.
I don't know. My dad was a stand-up comedian. So growing up, I was ruthlessly embarrassed my whole life. So like for me, I'm like, I have no shame.
Speaking of embarrassment, Christian doubled down from the start of the show to the end of the show. Rick Devens, Christian finds the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. I don't know why it's called the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. This is the second Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol in as many episodes of Survivor 50, and that's 2 more times, Bailey. That's 2 more than Billie Eilish has mentioned Survivor since Survivor 50 has aired. Not on Instagram, not on Twitter. I checked. So why are we calling it the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol if Billie Eilish herself is not mentioning it to her legions of fans? It doesn't make any... Why are we calling it the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol if Billie Eilish doesn't know the Boomerang Idol exists, Bailey? But anyway, Christian finds that idol, and him and Rick Devens hatch a master plan, a legitimately master plan, to hide this idol at Tribal Council just so they can use it as a tool at their disposal later. And I am so happy. I am so excited. Even though at season 40, Winners at War, Adam goes, is at an idol at the podium and tries to take it off the podium. And Jeff Probst says there will never be an idol at Tribal Council. But hey, maybe there's one for season 50. Maybe they changed the game. Rick Devens hides a fake one there. And the only way he can hide it is if Christian creates a distraction. And so what does Christian do? He takes a pratfall with the best of them, Bailey.
Sorry.
My God, Tony, that fall. And then they're walking out and Christian's acting all confused. And Cirie goes, should I lead? Let me lead. I'll lead. And just steps in front of him and starts to lead. I was like, the commitment to the bit is admirable. As someone that commits to a bit so hard and goes way too far sometimes, the commitment to the bit was gorgeous and beautiful. And I just love the sly, devilish little look on Rick Devens' face as it's all happening down. Like, he's so proud of himself that they did this. And the little camera zoom in just to the little idol underneath. It was brilliant. But immediately my thought was like, wouldn't someone else from a different team also be able to find this? So like, are they going to wreak havoc?
Who knows? He just thrown it out there.
Is production going to let it stay there? You know what I mean? It's just so... I have so many questions. I can't wait to see how this plays out. It was beautiful.
I hope it sits there. I hope it's the Chekhov's gun. I hope we don't see that for another month and a half until that comes back into play. I love it so much. But the niceties are over. The Christian comedy hour is over. I will say him talking to Joe through the hammock is one of the best camera shots in Survivor history. But I want to talk about the actual drama that went down with this tribe. Because it all revolves around Netflix's own Joe Hunter. I don't know if you heard the news. Tyler Perry has a new Netflix show. Joe Hunter is cast in it as the fired captain. Good for Joe. Very happy about it. And I understand I have a very biased view on Joe because season 48 was my first season watching live of Survivor. When we drafted our little fantasy team before this podcast even existed, Joe was my first pick. I was rooting for that man from the moment he stepped on the island, and to watch his journey to the very end. No, Kyle definitely deserved to win, but I was rooting for Joe the whole entire time. So I was so elated to see Joe on season 50 because that's my dude till the very end. And seeing what he was on 48 and seeing that there were pieces there that weren't shown, there were bits and pieces of Joe's game and Joe's persona that I think needed to be unleashed in 50. This to me was such a beautiful version of Joe Hunter. And it's being played as he's the bad guy, which is a weird system, a weird thing to see for me. It's not how I saw it. Rick Devens comes to Joe, and Rick has an alliance with Ozzy, Savannah, and Joe that they want to pitch to him. The only one that doesn't know about this is Joe. And so when Rick says, hey, can I get you for 30 minutes? And they want to go to walk to the water well, Savannah whispers very loudly, very openly in front of everybody, hey, do you want to tell him about the thing? And Joe sees this and goes, what are they talking about? And Joe's little inquisitive mind perfectly, and Bailey, I say perfectly, catches Devens on his back foot while he's flossing his teeth. He just lets Devens guide himself into a pit and dig his hole further. And Devens, for whatever reason, decides to lie to him. And Joe says, I know you're lying to me. And Joe puts Devens on his back foot. I know you're lying to me. He then questions Savannah later and say, hey, why are you guys lying? And Savannah tells him the truth. And then he goes back to Rick, and they have what's told at tribal council, a huge argument.
I'm just repeating what you're telling me.
You're twisting my...
We get stuff from Cirie, we get stuff from Ozzy, from Christian, from Rick Devens, from Savannah, straight to camera, from Emily too, saying, I can't believe Joe's playing this way, getting mad that people lied. Nay, Joe caught you in a lie. Joe is playing Survivor. Joe is doing everything he can to prove that he knows what's going on. He will not be tricked again from Kyle and Camilla. So I ask you, Bailey, did Joe Hunter do anything wrong here?
So hard because you have to be so overly in control of your emotions at all freaking times. And so I understand in this moment that he's catching people talking about him, lying to him when there was no reason to lie about what they were talking about. And then when he gets the truth, to not trust it, because why wouldn't they have just told me that in the beginning? I don't think he played anything incorrectly.
Rick's actually saying to Joe, I've never played with anyone like you. And I'm asking, what is he playing like? What is the rarity here? Because again, Devens was caught in a lie. And Devens has done this too. Devens has made a show on Edge of Extinction. When Ron's hands him the fake idol menu, he takes it up to Jeff, knowing it's a fake, to prove to everyone that Ron is lying to my face and making me look like the chump in front of all of you. Well, guess what? I'm getting that one on. Like, Rick has played this way before, and now Joe is turning it on him directly to him. He's not doing it for a show. He's doing it directly to Rick, saying, why didn't you, if it was just an alliance, why did you lie? Why did you lie? If I'm in the alliance, why are you lying to me? So I'm asking, why is Joe being played as the villain here?
Well, I don't understand, because again, if we go back to that, why is Rick lying? Like, that's where my brain just keeps going to. It's just like, I just don't understand that rationale in that moment between Rick and Savannah. I don't understand it. When Savannah says, should we tell him? What's the point of not telling him? A secret alliance with the fourth member not aware of your alliance? Yeah. So you're just going to continue to ostracize him and create tension and create paranoia because you're not looping the guy in. And so then when he comes to you and says, hey, I'm feeling paranoid and I'm confused as to what's happening, and then you try to flip the script on him. No, that was your fault. So I have a hard time answering that question regarding Joe because I just don't understand the gameplay or the strategy behind Devens. And especially when Savannah's trying to say, why aren't we doing this? And I mean, honestly, even the vote against Savannah didn't make a whole lot of sense to me and felt a little bit out of left field, if I'm being honest.
And that's the next question to me, because obviously, why is Rick lying to Joe? Why is Savannah saying, do we need to talk to him? Why is Ozzy coming out when they say, hey, we want to, Rick and Savannah say, hey, we want to work with you, Ozzy, and Ozzy goes, yeah, me and Joe. Like, Ozzy comes in with Joe. So where did that come from? How did that start? Ozzy, did they not want to tell Joe because Ozzy said, let me be the one to tell Joe? There's a lot left out here. And then when we get to Tribal, Joe opens up Tribal Council saying, yeah, me and Rick had a disagreement that kind of set the mood and it's really tense here and that's my fault and Rick's fault. Who saw this argument? How did this explode into a moment where everyone on the tribe was walking on eggshells into Tribal? Because we didn't see that on television. We didn't see that in the edit at all. We saw an argument and then the fallout of the argument. We didn't see it blow up to the point that it needs to be addressed immediately before we start this conversation. And then, as you said, it's a 6-1 vote on Savannah. Everyone's on Savannah, and they never were going to be off Savannah. So I'm wondering, why was this episode edited the way it was, and what did we as the viewer miss because of it? Bailey, what did you think?
I think that's what was so confusing, because we already didn't get a lot of the inner workings of the other tribes, which we've discussed already here. They weren't the attention of this. So we were focused on, this one tribe, but the Sela tribe, all the drama that happened was just talked about. It wasn't shown. So it makes me think of there were a couple times in season 49 that they almost released footage later in the week that kind of actually gave us some insight into what happened. I fear that may be what happens here, is that we're going to get some sort of conversation between Devens and Ozzy, or Devens and Joe, or Ozzy and Joe, where there's more of a tension maybe. But I genuinely felt like we missed 15, 20 minutes of the episode. I when we had talked about it, Savannah's name had only been thrown out there briefly. It really was talking more about Ozzy or Joe was what they were talking about. So then out of nowhere, it's Savannah. And again, a 6-1 vote. So clearly that's been very talked about between multiple people on this tribe. Yet we're left in the dark. I felt a little crazy. I felt a little gaslit at the end of this episode. If I'm being honest, I was like, did I miss something? Did I fall asleep and I don't remember?
Genuinely, I think we're being gaslit that Joe's the villain in this scenario. He was the one, again, who was lied to, and he caught the liar in the lie. And then suddenly Rick's like, I thought we were playing Survivor to camera. You are. And you got outplayed by Joe Hunter. That's the part I don't understand. 100% you're playing Survivor. You don't have to lie to play on Survivor, but you do have to understand that if you are lying, there may be a chance you get caught in those lies. And that's why Joe's sitting there I thought he played it perfectly, Bailey. I'm so surprised that everyone on the island, everyone on that tribe is like, yeah, Joe's acting crazy. To me, that's how I do not understand what happened. I do not understand why there's fallout here. I do not understand why Joe was even brought up in discussion and everyone wasn't like, Rick, why are you lying to Joe? You got caught. Deal with it. I don't get it.
And then they still didn't even vote for Joe, though.
No.
So that's the thing that makes no sense. So everyone is in agreement that Joe's acting weird, or Joe's blowing up my game, or Joe's being paranoid. Yet 6-1 Savannah. Yeah. We just missed something. I mean, if anyone out there can explain it to us, please, by all means, comment below.
Yeah,
give
leave
me
it
the
in the
Reddit
comments.
breakdown, because I'm confused.
Leave it in the comments. Well, Bailey, we have to get to predictions for the next episode. We do have a tribe swap coming. We don't know what's going to happen. There are people all over the place. I believe I saw Joe talking to Colby. I saw Charlie sitting next to a hammock with someone that wasn't ours. It might have been Rizzo. There are tribe swaps all over the place. We have no idea what's going to happen. But before we get there, who won this episode of Survivor?
I don't know. I feel like I'm always partial to say Christian, just because it was so embarrassing and he still managed to just come back kind of gracefully.
To go on top of that, I will say I think Christian both won this episode and also lost this episode.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. say. I think he totally both won and lost this episode.
Yeah. And he knows it. And he knows it. It was truly a star, not only from the beginning with his his intestinal explosion, but also I cannot get over his conversation with Joe in the hammock. I think it's one of the funniest, most well-shot Survivor pieces ever. It's beautiful with him rocking the hammock and Joe sitting there like a baby. And then the end, the pratfall at the end. It's Christian wins and loses this second episode of Survivor. Yes. Bailey, who do you think gets voted out next? Neither of us. Oh, but did I say Savannah last week? Maybe I did.
You said Savannah.
I did say
you said Savannah.
Look at that. Maybe season 50 is my year, Bailey, but you'll go first.
I'm proud of you.
Who is getting eliminated next episode?
I know she just was gifted something this episode, but I'm still really, really worried about our girl Aubry. I just fear that she is under such scrutiny. And even with what little we saw with the tribe swap, it seemed as though she still was on the outs with whatever new tribe she's on. So as much as I don't want it to be, and as much as I don't think it actually is, again, just around the discourse and the conversations people have had around 50, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Aubry because I just think she keeps having to just fight from the bottom. So we'll see if she can do it.
I think the person that will be eliminated in episode 3 of Survivor season 50 will be, I'm going to go with Angelina. I really like Chrissy and I really like Angelina. I think they are on the bottoms no matter what tribe they're in. And I think they are struggling to make friends. And I think unless they get the right set of people, it might be difficult for them to hang on after this tribe swap. And they'd be an easy cut. They'd be an easy convincing cut that really doesn't hurt anybody else's game so far on this island. So if I had to pick between the two, Chrissy seems more happy about Survivor Online right now. So maybe she lasts a little bit longer. So I'll go with Angelina. But that is it for this episode of Survivor Squared. My name is Tony Squares. That's Bailey Buffs. And join me next week when Monday we have on the great guest, the best guest we could ever have for this show to talk about Survivor. It's Billie Eilish.